When a professor is about to retire, he or she usually gives one final lecture and spends the time offering his or her wisdom to their students. In this particular case, Professor Randy Pausch was retiring from Carnegie Mellon. And he did his last lecture under different circumstances. He was in his early 40s and was diagnosed with cancer and only had a few months to live. So he knew he was going to die. So what he did was imparted his knowledge to his students and to his families, and even some former students show up to hear it because he was such a great lecturer. And he gave that lecture, and it was published and translated into 48 different languages. I hadn't heard about him before I read this commentary, but if it was translated into 48 different languages, it must have made a difference. In today's gospel, Judas leaves the room, and Jesus knows he's going to be arrested and betrayed. He's betrayed by Judas and be arrested in a few hours, and then turns to his disciples and offers them wisdom. It's part of the Last Supper. And he reminds them what he did for them for the last 3 years he was with them. He gives them some advice. And the biggest commandment he gives them at that time is to love one another. Seems simple enough, but sometimes it's important to know that that is one of the important things that Jesus leaves us. We have to love each other. But it's not always easy. You know, sometimes we can be self-centered and we want it our way. Sometimes we forget that other people are around us. Sometimes we get so caught up that we ignore the world around us. But I'd like to give you a couple of examples of people who love in a different way. There was a brother, Andre Bassett, who was the doorkeeper of the church, the Oratory of St. Joseph in Montreal, Canada. He wasn't bright, he had trouble with school, he had a lot of health problems, and the Holy Cross congregation was ready to send him away because he didn't fit their model. But he ended up as the doorkeeper. And as a result, he encountered people constantly. It got to the point that he had so many people that they were going to the St. Joseph Oratory just to see him because he was so gentle, kind, and loving. And as a result, a few years ago, Pope Francis named him a saint. Simple act of just greeting people, making them feel wanted, making them feel part of the church. That made all the difference in their lives. And of course, we have that other great American saint, Mother Cabrini. She came here from Italy with absolutely nothing. She was discriminated against because she was a foreigner. But she took care of the poor and the disenfranchised people. She set up homes for them. She founded hospitals. That Cabrini Hospital was right here in Chicago, and she died right here in Chicago. She made a difference in people's lives. The people who were discriminated against, were downtrodden, and really preyed upon. She welcomed them into her community and made them feel at home. And then we also have another few people. I'm having a senior moment. Akito, I don't know if his first name is right. He was a young man who died as a teenager, and he was going to be made a saint the Sunday after Easter, but because the Pope died, it's been delayed until Pope Leo can canonize him. But what he did was he started using technology. He's going to be the patron saint of technology. And what he did was he made it available for people. But he also made the Eucharist the central part of his life. And as a result, more and more young people came to the church. In fact, he's buried in Assisi, and he has as many visitors now as St. Francis does. St. Francis reached out to the poor, took care of the homeless, touched lepers, did what Jesus was doing. All the people I've talked about loved, followed the mission of loving one another. And of course, we have people who, in ordinary life, everyday life. I know of lawyers who help poor people with their legal problems. I have CPAs who, especially at tax times, will go to the poor and help them with their taxes. We have people who reach out to the needy and take care of them. People who drive people to the hospital for treatments. People who make sure that the homebound are fed the Eucharist. There's all different kinds of ways we as people can love one another. And when we do what Jesus commanded his early disciples to do, we are continuing the mission that Christ commissioned each and every one of us. And as a result, we might fulfill the prophecy in Revelation, "See, I make all things new." But it means we have to get out of ourselves and love one another as Jesus has loved us. Keep that commandment, and we will make the world a better place, and we will be better people.
Thank you for participating in this production of our virtual Mass. Your presence means so much. Every day, so many parishioners connect to OLPH through the digital ministry. The digital ministry is one of almost 80 ministries supported by the parish. That's why your support of the parish is crucial, so we can continue to have the resources to fund all of our ministries that touch the lives of many. Thank you for watching, continue to watch, and thanks again for your support.